Good evening and welcome back to our esteemed audience and our esteemed speakers to the fifth panel of the day of 6th BFSI Leadership Summit on experiments, agility and disruption, insurance industry in the new normal world. We have with us the moderator for the panel, Ms. Rashi Aditi Ghosh, Assistant Editor, Elets Technomedia. Joining, joining him, we have Mr. Kunal Anand, Mr. Kunal Anand, Chief Operation and Customer Service Officer, Aviva India. And the last but not the least, we have Mr. Sandeep Mishra joining us for the session. Mr. Rashi, I would like to hand over this panel to you now for a wonderful moderation. Over to you, Mr.
Thank you, Hina. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are heading towards the evening, actually, and thank you so much for joining us today for this panel discussion, which is titled as "Experiments, Agility, and Disruption: Insurance Industry in the New Normal World." So we have been joined by Mr. Kunal Anand. He is the Chief Operations Officer and Customer Services Officer from Aviva India. And Sandeep Mishra, he is the Head Partnerships Group Business Development and Distribution Training from Bharti AXA Life Insurance. Welcome, Mr. Anand, and welcome, Mr. Mishra. Thank you for joining us today for this panel discussion. And I believe we will try and put forward some significant topics connecting to the insurance sector, which has seen tremendous amount of change and transformation in the last 18 years, to be precise. The panel discussion would encircle around how the insurance industry is undergoing a lot of changes and how digital disruption, digital IT infrastructure architecture, and digital attackers, concepts like digital technologies, telematics, automation, machine learning, these are bringing transformation changes to the sector, and how the sector is embracing, finding out opportunities amid the challenges. The first question for this panel discussion that we would be hosting today is, we all know about COVID outbreak and the challenges are undying. It seems that there's no respite in at least in the next few months. It has somehow, if we, put these challenges apart, it has accelerated digital transformation and the new normal. So how is the sector adopting to transformed business strategies in order to accommodate new way of working? I would, move to Mr. Anand to find out his take on this particular question. Mr. Anand, over to you.
Thank you, Rashi. I mean, at the outset, I would say that what started as a crisis, and this was 18 months back when the COVID wave one happened, it was a crisis then, it still is a crisis. But the benefits thereof in terms of the digital transformation has been immense. I think when customers first we said to stay at home and be secure, obviously it was difficult for them to adapt to that. But due to the changes that the insurance industry and the economy overall in general, what we did, the huge adoption of digital that all of us did, it made that security at home to a comfort at home kind of angle. So slowly, customers started demanding more and more of digital interventions, better customer experience, comfort sitting at home, wanting a seamless experience, and so on and so forth. Uh, in the insurance industry as well, we have also tried to reinvent our operating models. We have tried to simplify our various engagement and touch points with the customers. Uh, Now, while in wave one, we were not at all prepared and we were all caught short of what was required. But as gradually as we kept, as the days passed on and went into weeks and months, uh, we all had to reinvent ourselves. We had to kind of put massive efforts into digitizing ourselves, and we I think most of us were successful to the extent that when wave two happened, none of us felt the pinch because of that. The pinch was obviously on the external world in terms of hospitalization, etc. But in terms of customer services, there was minimal impact because all of us were very prepared after the wave one incident, and it almost like it became a new normal, a new routine for us. People started working from home without any discomfort. In the first instance, if I again compare, uh, not everyone was enabled to work from home. By wave two, 100% people were enabled to work from home, and they were accustomed to doing that, and therefore services did not suffer at all to my mind during wave two. uh, the point also is that this experimentation that we did during wave one and the agility mindset that we carried forward helped us really overcome any challenges that we had subsequently, and so on. Uh, Now, looking forward, yes, we are better prepared than where we were in wave one. But is that the end? I think the answer is a clear no. We have all realized the immense benefits that digitalization carries with it. And therefore, all of us are geared up to make some fundamental transformational changes so that the customer experience becomes even better, uh, going forward, and keeping the customer at the center of the plate, because after all we exist because of them. All our digital strategies going forward will be with the customer in mind. So that's my limited take on what happened because of COVID and go forward strategies.
A very, very positive remark. Never dying attitude actually helps. And the kind of industry insurance sector is, from being, completely physical to completely digital, such drastic change, still the motivation is high. So that's actually, I would congratulate the entire industry for the same. So, moving on, Mr. Mishra, what's your take? How do you see this uncertain period, and apart from the challenges, how do you see the opportunities and the transformation associated with it?
Thanks, Rashi, and thank you, Kunal, for sharing your inputs. I kind of, completely agree with what you just shared, that this whole situation came as an opportunity as well. And whatever was kind of taking a backseat in terms of digital adoption or putting that digital focus, I think that took the front seat. Uh, Anyways, insurance is a push product. Insurance is something which is complex. It's not easy to understand at times. Therefore, it really helped and kind of forced our people to think about solutions and ways where this can be simplified and presented to the customer, who are sitting at home. Uh, it was also the requirement of the customer at that point of time. I personally feel that during these times we got a little more worried about our health and wealth both. We were thinking a lot more about how do we stay healthy and also to take care of our finances. And in terms of long term, in terms of our survival in a tough situation, when you are a little uncertain about it. In insurance, we always used to say that life is uncertain, anything can happen. I think that statement came to life, and therefore, if there was a readiness in minds of our customers, uh, we were also able to match that kind of a expectation that the customer had with the help of the digital transformation journeys that each of the insurance companies took. Uh, you can also give a lot of credit to the readiness of the support system or the ecosystem called internet, which was also available. The entire country, entire world was working sitting at home, and not for a single moment there could have been a situation where internet was not working or there was a problem of the speed. Now that was also something that you will have to give a lot of credit to make sure that some of these processes and systems came to life and they were able to produce results that we wanted. So in a nutshell, in hindsight, if you really have to go back and see and look at the future ahead, I believe that not just the customers, but the insurance companies also benefited a lot by putting a lot of our journeys, and make it digitally. While we invested a lot of money, we saved a lot of cost as well in terms of building these systems and processes. So that, to my mind, was a win-win situation. In these tough times, challenging times, I'm sure all insurance companies were able to live up to the promises of delivering the claims. While we were getting claims, while people were at home, we were at home, but we were able to settle and transfer monies into the customers' accounts. I think a lot of credit goes to the digital assets and digital platforms that were there to support these customers' families in a situation where they needed this kind of a help the most. So overall, I think it was a great learning. Nobody had planned for it. In our management books or history books, we had never thought of a situation like this. But all functions came together and really embraced the digital and the tech platforms to be the savior. And I think the entire ecosystem did not let us down. Will it become the way of life? I believe so. May not be completely, because there is still a human touch required in life insurance. So maybe the digital world is what we will kind of experience as we move ahead.
Absolutely. That's what we had been listening, that it's not going to go completely digital, but digital is the way ahead. So you were speaking about push product to demand driven product. So taking this conversation ahead, I would like to go to Mr. Anand, and would like to know about his point of view on the sector you represent. Has it was once known as the push product. It really had People really had to try hard. I At least I have seen that buying an insurance is not an easy task, and selling it is even tougher. So from being a pushed product, it has become a demand driven one. So what changes in particular do you see in terms of customer acquisition that you have seen, and how the complete servicing, like Mr. Mishra was talking about claims, and there are challenges that you see in approaching the customer. So what is your take in that regard?
Thanks, Rashi. I like your comment on finding insurance very difficult to buy and even more difficult to sell. And that's the truth. It's a unfortunate truth, but that is what it is. And despite, I will share why things have improved tremendously. But having said tremendously, still what you have said still holds true. So first on the, let me cover how life has changed for the customers first. And I'll give you an example. The term insurance rates have kind of tripled, if not become four times as well. I'm not talking individual products because that will require a filing and refiling and it will take time and so on and so forth. However, on the group side, where insurance writing is supposed to be simpler and the buying journey is supposed to be much more easier, the rates have gone up tremendously, as I said. And despite that, people are not just buying, they are wanting to buy more and more. And that's the awareness which has come in because of the COVID situation that we had. Again, just to link it to the claims, and I'm not trying to link claims to new business buying, but just to keep that in mind for everyone. I think for Aviva, I can say, and I'm sure similar statistics hold true for the insurance industry as well. My claim count went up 4x compared to last year, same time. My claim amount, the amount that I paid out, went up 8x. So eight times of what I paid the same time last year. Now, with that frequency of claims, obviously we were all distressed and we were all in grief because of what happened in wave two. I don't think a single family that I knew was left untouched. Everyone, something or the other happened to every family. But having said that, that brought to the center the core need of insurance and how insurance supports families. And therefore, despite all of that, when we went out in the market with higher pricing, and not just as the entire industry, people still wanted it. So that's a huge positive shift. people wanting it becoming more like a demand product instead of a push product. But having said that, we are still nowhere near what it should be. The ideal situation is still far away. So I still hold by what you said, uh, but that is how things have changed to a large extent. Second, again, from
Yes,
a customer comfort
Mhm.
point of, sorry, carry on. You're saying something.
Please carry on, sir. Sorry, no, no, please.
So now let me talk of the customer experience as well, and experience both at the new business stage when customer buys a policy as well as claims. And I'll first touch claims and then go to the new business part because now claims also for Aviva India, for example, we had launched a 30-minute claim completion process. So no one, the customer or the family need not visit the office at all, complete everything digitally, and in 30 minutes the claim could be settled if everything was right. Having said that, while we had that process for some time, for a year, 2 years, even prior to COVID, the uptake was on the lower side. Customers still wanted to come, meet, see face to face, build that trust, and so on and so forth. Uh, and because of the COVID situation, when people were in distress and people could not travel and so on, uh, they started using this, and suddenly the usage of this application went up tremendously. So it really it it met the genuine need of the customer, and therefore it really took up there. Similarly, on the new business and the sales side as well, uh, we had a mobile sales tool where everything could be completed digitally or digitally, and customer need not visit any office. And we have had this for several years, 3 4 5 years, even more perhaps. And in all these years, we have been pushing my distribution sales force for higher uptake. And with great reluctance, they would inch up from a 20% to a 30% to a 40% or a 50% max over after 3 4 5 years. And suddenly, when COVID happened, in a span of a few weeks, a month, 2 months, it became 99%, jumping from a 45, 48 to a 99%. That 1% also, I'm surprised why it didn't happen at that point of time. Uh, but then suddenly, both the customer and the distribution folks, they realize the convenience that it offers to everyone. Similarly, my back-end support team people who were all had to come in the office at times 8 o'clock in the morning, and then shifts will work till almost 9 o'clock in the night and so on and so forth. We enabled work from home for them. Obviously, we had to because of the wave one, no one could travel. And once we enabled that, the comfort of the support team as well, that yes, we can still work from home. We can take care of our small children. We can take care of our elderly parents and still provide the support. That also was very enthusing and pleasing for all of us around. And that's where the human element with Sandeep also kind of referred to. It's extremely important both at the customer end as well as the employee end. And just to carry on the human element part, when Wave 2 happened, we launched a so-called a COVID war room. And we said to each and every employee of ours that you're not alone there. You have family, you have friends, but also have each and every member of the viewer family standing next to you. So any challenges you have, just send a one-line WhatsApp message. So people would just say, "I'm not able to find remdesivir here in this location. Can anyone help?" And that message would immediately get transmitted to the entire viewer community at large. And within 15 minutes, someone or the other would say, "Go and try this place. You might get a hospital bed there, or you might get this medicine there, or you might get an oxygen cylinder here," and so on and so forth. So that human touch, and it was very important for us. Digital is an enabler, but ultimately we are touching human lives is what we are trying to do, either customer end or employee end. So I'll leave at that for the time being.
Agree to it, sir. That's what even Mr. Mishra was suggesting, that touching human lives, with digital added flavor is the need of the hour. And would like to thank you for adding such good points here. You spoke about how your organization has not just helped the customers, it's also trying to help the employees who are working day in and day out to bring innovation to ensure continuity. So with this, moving on to the next question of the panel discussion today is, in your view, what does success look like for an insurance in a digital world? How can it be achieved? So let me go to Mr. Mishra for this. It's a wide question. Can be you can put your points here, and this is in continuation to the discussion we were having on demand driven to from being pushed to a demand driven product. So how do you see what helps you succeed?
Uh, Thanks, Rashi. And I would just try to build on what Kunal just shared, that the success will depend on adoption. And as he shared that while, pre-COVID, we were struggling with our, and I'm sure this is true for any insurance company, our digital assets adoption was in the range of 30, 40, 50%. And suddenly that's touching 99 or 100%. So one of the things that you have to make sure as an insurance company is to drive the digital adoption very, very aggressively. And we at Bharti XL Life Insurance, as I said, we have invested a lot in building a lot of digital assets. And those digital assets, how conveniently can you present to the end user? We are very happy to share that, while you start this digital transformation journey and you start building multiple assets, which basically make the life of a salesperson very, very simple. And there are multiple products and multiple apps that you create. We at Bharti XL Life Insurance have one single app. We have one single sign on. And with that one single sign on, you get into all the different kinds of, whether you want to learn, whether you want to, make send a quotation to the customer, whether you want to send a visiting card to the customer, product presentation, any communication that you want to do when you start a sales process, you start the customer onboarding, you want to complete a video verification. Everything at Bharti AXA Life Insurance is at one single sign on. And this is our M Customer app, which is also one app of the year at the Asia level, at the regional level, at India level, international level. So I think we understand that while you are driving digital adoption, you are trying to make life simpler for your customer. We are trying to make life simpler for your employees. What you need to also do is to make life simple for them. And if there are multiple assets and they're not talking to each other, then there is definitely a challenge in terms of adoption. So first thing that we have done is that while we are driving adoption, we have made sure that a salesperson doesn't have to log into multiple assets. With one single sign-on, he can access all of the assets. So there is one single entry point for all the digital assets. So I think that is something which will help us, and I'm sure it is helping us. I'm sure it will help all of us to make this a huge success. Second is that you will have to keep on upgrading. While there was a verification call which used to happen earlier, which was over a call, now there is a video which needs to be kind of made a way of life. There are multiple, synergies that we are trying to create. We also discovered at Bharti AXA Life Insurance is that there are almost 75 to 80% of our policies that don't require underwriting intervention. And there is a rule engine which is at the back end, which basically decides whether these policies can be issued immediately or not. We moved that rule engine to the front. So as a salesperson, if I'm sitting with a client and if I put in the details where the details are right, so 35 years old, his height is 5 feet 11 inches, weight is 72, perfect BMI, perfect life, perfect financial guidelines met. I don't need to go to the underwriting. I can, and the payment is realized, I can immediately say that policy has been issued, subject to your verification call completion. So Insta issuance is something that we really started promoting very, very aggressively at Bharti XL Life Insurance. So convenience, how do you make sure the entire digital ecosystem is conveniently available for the end user, for the customer, as well as the seller who's working and on these digital assets along with the customer? How do you create a wow for the customer? How do you create a wow for the salesperson that he really believes in this ecosystem that you are trying to create, and create that kind of a success story around it? So you have to keep on innovating, upgrading, because technology also, after a while becomes redundant, and therefore you are always on look out to make sure that processes are getting better. Uh, it's also about building an agile ecosystem around it. So a lot of KPIs have changed. Earlier the KPI on a X percentage achievement was, say, you get this. Now it's related to the digital assets adoptions and related to a digital, onboarding that you are doing with the customer. So a lot of surrounding ecosystem that we had in a traditional setup has also changed. So the digital platform has not just impacted the pre-sales or the post-sales journey onboarding of the customer. It has also impacted the HR policies. It has also impacted the performance management system. It has also impacted the way you are designing products. You are making sure that the products that are getting designed, can they be issued digitally? Can they be OTC kind of a product where the customers can buy? So it's a kind of a ripple effect which is getting created, and we are very happy to share that at Bharti AXA Life Insurance, we have taken this as a big opportunity and working very closely on all the aspects to make this entire thing a huge success. So it's not easy, but I think we are on that path, and it will take a kind of a team effort where all HR, training, operations, support, everybody has to come together to make this a huge success.
Wonderfully put together, Mr. Mishra. You've connected all the dots. It's actually very important to create a ripple effect. Everyone has to upgrade, everyone has to change. And it's kind of you and your organization that you are talking about. Apps that are one touch apps, because this COVID has not only brought the millennials to cell phones, but even elderly people are using cell phones and they can't do so much. But insurance is something that they are, not just young people, even elderly ones are, they have their insurance and they need something that can, help them access technology easily. In our previous discussions we were talking about same, and then you also spoke about technology upgradation. A little while ago we were having a conversation with banks, and then they said that how they have upgraded from artificial intelligence, ML, to now they're exploring metaverse. So the level of innovation is exciting, and it's actually very, it gives us a lot of pleasure to see that how the humanitarian side of it is connected with technology, and insurance sector is a very good example of it. So moving ahead, Mr. Kunal, how do you see success in this digital world? What defines success for you? As in, how do you see your customers and your employees in this era?
So, as I said earlier, we exist but for the customer, and therefore, everything for me has to be around the customer and the employee. And digital only becomes a means to help our customers simplify their lives, improve their experience. And whether it is on that side that we spoke on the various interventions we are doing, whether at the new business stage or interactions and engagements or at the claim stage, the idea is to minimize any trouble to the customer, simplify their engagements with us. In parallel, obviously, our employees are also at the center of what we do, and therefore, how can we make life convenient for our employees as well, so that they can continue fulfilling their commitments to the customers. And this is what I foresee would continue for some time. Uh, I don't see COVID or something like that going away very soon. Some variant or something will keep happening. Obviously, it's becoming milder. I presume it is. The Omicron certainly seems to be milder. Uh, but yes, this kind of a situation will still continue for some more time, and therefore a hybrid workplace will continue. I think it's important that it does. Uh, Yes, but it won't be 100% work from home forever. People will start coming back. People have already started coming back. It's only the percentage. What percentage will continue to come in various roster-based attendance to the office and so on. Uh, it might be 20, 25, 30% at once things stabilize. But yes, a hybrid model will continue. But having said that, I don't think the customer will inconvenience in any which way, whether the employees come or not. We have got all the technologies now, and I'm not just talking about Aviva India. I think the industry as a whole and largely anyone in the BFSI has put enough attention and enough resources behind to ensure that the customer is not inconvenienced. Customer is actually more thrilled with the better experience that they get. Yes, there would still be some customers at the other spectrum, the elderly and so on, who may not find digital to be so comfortable. They may not be digitally completely savvy. And for them, the brick and mortar will continue existing for a larger period of time. But as the younger generation enters the insurance space more and more, things should change dramatically. And I think even the distribution workforce has understood the benefits of adopting digital. So I don't think there's any going back to that now.
Absolutely. Even, every segment of this BFSI industry believes in the same mantra that there's no going back, and people are discussing about business continuity, and they don't know future is bit uncertain after COVID outbreak, and but they're getting ready for to protect themselves from every possible threat. And digital readiness is what is on the priority list. And taking this conversation ahead, I would now like to know from you that you were speaking that upgradation will be a part of this insurance, and slowly and gradually people will get back to their normalcy. But do you, with the new normal in mind, do you think that these digital driven challenges are permanent? And if I would like to know about your vision for the next year, and then concepts like leadership. So how do you think leadership is going to look like in 2022? Do you think digital is going to drive your industry primarily, or you are also planning for a physical work space? Is hybrid going to be the priority, or you are planning to go back to your physical normal life with precautions obviously in mind? So what how do you would like to sum it up, Mr. Vishal?
Thank you, Rashi. So I will agree with the fact that this is going to stay, and this is going to uh, some of the changes that we have done is long term in nature, and we understand that some of the customers who are still not very comfortable digitally, they will still see value in the processes that we have created with the objective to make their life simpler. So this is going to continue, and our investment at Bharti AXA Life Insurance is going to continue. We will continue to build our digital assets. We are taking everything to the next level to make sure that we are future ready, right? In terms of onboarding of customers, the underwriting rules, creating that impact where the customer feels a instant gratification of getting that insurance cover on, pre-approved products, pre-approved underwriting rules and norms. All of that in collaboration with our reinsurers and our partners, we are trying to work on. So I personally believe that this is a little, a futuristic step that we have taken as an industry. And this is, as Kunal also shared, this is about keeping the customer at the center, keeping the customer in mind. And therefore, the biggest beneficiary is going to be customer. So this is going to stay for sure. Same is the case with the investments that the insurance companies will be making to revamp and kind of redo their entire ecosystem to have a great customer onboarding experience. As far as leadership is concerned, we also understand that there is a hybrid model which will be required. There are certain roles and responsibilities at Bharti AXA Life Insurance where we have classified them as work from home. There are certain roles and responsibilities which are on roster basis, and there are certain roles and responsibilities which is like keeping all the precautions in mind. We will have to cater to the requirements of the customers who walk into the branches and who basically still want to have that human touch. So in these times also, how do you manage as a leader if you have three sets of employees? One set of employees who's completely working from home, one set who's 3 days working from home and 3 days in front of you, or working remotely, and there are a set of employees. So obviously, as leadership, team member, your skill sets, your approach, your outlook has to change in terms of managing efficiencies. I think the trust level has to go up drastically as far as leadership is concerned. We really need to trust our employees a little more than ever before. We really need to empathize with our employees more than ever before, because we also agree that uh, there are families, and I don't know one family which has not got impacted due to COVID. It could be a medical challenge, a financial challenge, or any other challenge that you can think of. So it's very, very important as leadership that you really keep all of these contexts in mind as you plan for the future and the next steps that you move ahead. You will have to constantly upgrade the skill sets of your employees, keeping the new challenges in mind. Digital as an asset is not so, while it is easy and the objective is to make life easier with the help of the digital assets, adoption becomes a challenge. It's a change. And the first reaction to change is resist. This is not for me, I'll take time. And therefore, how do you really, keep on working on upgrading the skills of your employees so that they see this as the new normal and way of life, and therefore you don't face too much of resistance and too much of laggards in your team who are taking time to adopt to this new normal. While it's not something that we are facing, they are also struggling, and therefore you see a lot of positive response on that front. But as leaders, you will have to still work on some of the skill sets that you are required. uh, while IQ is very important for running businesses, at the same time, EQ becomes a very, very important factor. And in these times, our emotional quotient, emotional intelligence has to go up to really deal with not just emotionally sensitive employees, but emotionally sensitive customers. And there are challenges that these families are facing, going through, and therefore all of these put together has to be the way forward as far as the leadership is concerned, as far as the engagement with the team is concerned, as far as making technology as your way of life is concerned. So as I said earlier also, at Bharti Excel Life Insurance, we are not just looking at one digital assets as something that needs to undergo a change. But if the customer's life is changing and the requirements around customers' lives is changing, so is our digital assets are changing, and so is the ecosystem supporting the whole setup of life insurance has to change. And that's where we all are committed to, and we are working towards making this as a way of life, uh, but being sensitive about a lot of other issues that I shared.
I could see a future, a leader who is futuristic speaking here. Thank you, Mr. Mishra. You have actually focused on a vision that will help others, not just the customers, but also the employees. And yes, when we start something new, it's always the hesitation that it's not for me, but it changes over the time, and this is the time where changes, I don't know, it's become a part of everybody's life. We are changing every day, every minute. So moving ahead, Mr. Kunal, your closing remarks on, you are a leader, and you somehow would have projected in your mind how the industry is going to look in the next few years. I don't know about the few years, because the amount of changes every day we are facing, it is difficult to predict things for the next year. 5 years is a long time. So, how do you see the industry in 2022, which is just a month away? And what do you think? You still have something physical in mind, or it's only digital? Because at the back of the mind, when I talk to users, they somehow think that this is temporary. फिर से physical हो जाएगा. That's what they say. So, as a leader, how would you like to sum it up?
Right, Rashi. I'll just step back for a minute again and talk of the leadership aspect before I come to what the growth looks like, because to me, the two are interlinked. The way a leader will behave will decide how the future will look to us. See, pre-COVID, there were always textbooks, there were manuals to be referred to. If there was a problem, you could always refer to something and find a solution. If not a book, you could call up a friend, a senior you would have read in your school, college, and find a solution from there. If you're not that smart, also, you would refer to a team of people around you and someone will find a solution. Wave one was something which all of us just didn't know how to react as leaders. I just didn't know whether I have to allow someone in the office today or tomorrow, or how do I allow and what do I do, and so on and so forth. And that's immense learning. As a leader, you grow tremendously with all those uncertainties there. Having said that, I moved to wave two. Wave two made us so vulnerable to everything that was going on around us. And there were instances when there would be 5 phone calls in 10 minutes from 5 different sets of people, family, friend, office, your reporting manager, and so on. Someone is struggling with something. And still you had to manage. You had to keep the show going on because someone had to stand tall and be as a rock. And that again is immense, tremendous leadership learning and development. And every one of us who have undergone that and have managed through that, we are much stronger as a leader. We understand both IQ and EQ, as Sandeep mentioned, and we understand working from remotely and managing teams remotely now. So the leadership overall is much more stronger compared to where we were earlier. That's my fundamental belief. And the leadership is futuristic looking, most of us. And with that future in mind, with the idea of experimentation, with the idea of being agile, with the idea of taking up challenges, with the idea of being collaborative remotely, and so on and so forth, uh, the growth is definitely on, will be on the upswing, without doubt. And IT will continue to my mind at least, IT will continue to remain a huge enabler. We cannot ever go back to being physical only. It has to be digital to start with, or phygital to start with, but more wearing more and more every passing month. I won't even say year, every passing month, more and more towards being digital. That's my take, Rashi.
Exactly, even we believe so that digital is here to stay, and if we have to continue, we have to navigate across every challenge that we don't know what is coming. Everything looks uncertain. So, but of course, digital is the way out. So, with this, we would like to bring an end to this conversation that we had today. It was extremely engaging, insightful, and thank you so much for spending your valuable time in this conversation, bringing a lot of important facts for our viewers to see. And I respect you all. It's I don't know, bow down my head with the kind of motivation you have kept inside your hearts to keep the show running, because insurance industry was or and is going to be the frontline COVID warrior, along with the medical staffs, the healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry. So, with this, I would like to bring an end to this insightful panel discussion. But before we end, our gratitude towards your participation, we would like to present mementos for today's participation from your end. Team, can we have the participation certificates? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kunal Anand, for sparing time from your busy schedule and joining us today to this panel discussion. Can we have the next certificate? Thank you so much, Mr. Sandeep Mishra, for joining us today for this panel discussion. We respect your hard work, and we believe in future we will connect again with more insightful panel discussions. Thank you so much for joining us today. Namaskar from Rashi, Aditi Ghosh. I'm signing off. Over to you, Hina Shukla. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Rashi.
you,
Thank you, Sandeep.
thank you, Rashi, for a wonderful moderation. And I would really say a big thank you to Mr. Kunal and Mr. Sandeep for enriching the panel so much with all the knowledge. I think the people were expecting a lot from this panel since it's been a very sensitive topic currently. But you guys have really enriched it with all the important points to be covered. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Sandeep.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr.
Thank
Kunal.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, Sina.
And
Thank you, Rashi.
thank you, sir. To the viewers who are following us on social media, please follow the hashtag BFSI Leaders for updates on social media pertaining to this particular leadership summit. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Hina. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Rashi. Thank you for a wonderful moderation. So with this, it's almost 5:30, and we are moving ahead. It's not yet over. We're still remaining with few presentations and few very enriched fireside chats. So yes, the next presentation moves on with Mr. Devakar Bhaskaran, Vice President Alliances from SCOMI Solutions. The topic of the presentation is fintech approaches for existing and new customers, two dimensions of digital lending. So we'll quickly have Mr. Divakar Bhaskaran on board with us for his technology presentation. Still, they stay tuned with us.